Aloha kako. O Mahina Paishon-Duarte. I'm a Hawaiian Filipina from the verdant lands of Oahualua, or Oahu Ma'ilikukahi, and I currently reside in Kanu with my family. So one of my first memories of education was actually from the bleachers of Nanakuli High School. Nanakuli High School. Woohoo! West Side. I was watching a family member's high school graduation ceremony, and that family member was my 17-year-old mother, and I was 4 years old. You see, my mom is a total badass. And despite the statistics of a teenage mother, she managed to graduate 1 year early with honors and hold down a part-time job while taking care of me. She then immediately entered into college to study and become a court reporter and enter into the professional world. And even as a young teenage mother and professional, there's this one thing, this one attribute that I really, really admire of her, and that she had this hunger for excellence. Everything that she did, she wanted to pursue excellence. I mean, even growing up, okay? Her idea of excellence was a little bit quirky sometimes, I gotta admit. Sometimes she would be like, I don't fit this anymore, you can wear it. Or sometimes she would be, I read all these books, did you read these books? So she always had this kind of competitive edge. Even so, when she turned 50, she just wanted to take it to the next level. And basically, she trained really hard to enter into a Miss Fitness Hawaii competition. Brace yourselves. At 50, bikini category. Yes, yes. After all, she's a third-generation Filipina, American Filipina, where she, and her father graduated from college, served a very astute career. And her grandfather had the honor of being the first officer in the US Army. So there's a lot of pressure to be excellent. And like many of you, we have our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents that worked really hard to rescue us from the plantation lifestyle. And somehow, at a young age in high school, I felt like it was unspoken code. It was my unspoken duty, if you will, to become either an accountant or an attorney or a nurse. Fortunately, and because of that, right, become the accountant, become the nurse so that you can get a great job, so that you can make lots of money and then be totally satisfied and happy with your life. That was the equation. Fortunately, I had on my father's side, I had cultivated a strong musical interest. And in my high school years, I was deeply involved in my performing arts company. It was an a cappella choral group. And we sang this huge range of music. It'd be folk, it'd be opera, it would be hymnals, but my favorite was Hawaiian and Polynesian music. And in my junior year, we had this really awesome opportunity. We had to try out, and myself and 60 of my peers had the great fortune to represent Hawaii and her beautiful culture and beautiful customs to perform at the Pacific Island Arts Festival in Rarotonga, Cook Islands. We trained for months, learning new songs, new dance, getting acquainted with the customs so that we could be appropriate there. And finally, when we got there to Rarotonga, beautiful Rarotonga, no joking, it was almost indescribable. Everything that you would imagine in a National Geographic picture, that's what it smelled like, felt like, in every sense, every sensation. I vividly remember the skies and the ocean being totally animated. I still remember, I can conjure up the smell of fires intermingled with tiare and and lay plumeria and drums beating and people singing where they went. So it seemed very idyllic. And this basically felt very much like the opening ceremony of the Olympics. And we were there really we had a huge kuleana, right? We had to be there to represent the most authentic expression of living Hawaiian culture at that time. I want to share this with you. E maui e, ho'olono I ka leo ka makuahine. Makuahine, hina, hina e. Ua holo e kala, pulu pulu to tapae. But we were here in Rarotonga not only for these performances, we were actually here for a greater kuleana. And that was to welcome home our mother Kanu, Hokulea. This is a huge, huge, huge deal, not only for Hawaiians, but for Rarotongans and all of the islanders that make up our Pacific peoples. And after we had completed our major performances, we were waiting. We were waiting for our Kanu. We were the welcoming contingent or delegation. But we got really, really worried. We got really worried because we couldn't contact them and we couldn't hear from them for more than a week. So what had happened is that we became so worried that we joined in prayer. And you saw all of the Pacific Islanders, they joined in prayer as well. And however we did prayer, some in chant, some quietly, some in a more conventional way, to call our canoes home. And finally, we heard back from the crew, finally, after a week. And they were close to landfall, so we busily got ready. By this time already, we're like family and calling out our Pacific cousins, and we're at the shores, ready to welcome home our canoe with leis in our hands. And we're singing at the top of our lungs with all of our heart and all of our might. And that's when I saw my lahui. I saw my Hawaiian heroes come off of that canoe with their salt-crusted papa'a burnt faces and their wind-tethered hair. And at that moment, I felt the connection of 2,000 generations and more, and not just to Hawaiian people, but connections to the peoples of this entire earth. I cried because it was that deep purpose and connection that I was seeking as a young high school student. And I knew exactly from that trip, when I returned home, okay, my trajectory is changing. I am not going to be an attorney, high-powered corporate attorney. I am going to make sure that I learn more about my language and culture. So I changed, and I wanted to major in Hawaiian studies. 5 years later, I found myself training to go on my own open ocean voyage with Hokulea's sister canoe, Makali'i, on the island of Hawaii. I got some Hawaii island over here. Woohoo! And it was the Emau voyage. And it was to honor Master Navigator P.S. Mau Piailug. It was to honor him because he was the brave, courageous teacher that despite all of the criticism that he was receiving from his master navigator peers, broke the kapu and said, yes, I will help the Hawaiians remember the art and science of wayfinding. I will do that. So we wanted to honor him and take him home on one of the canoes using the art and science of navigation that he helped us to remember. It was a 2,100-mile journey. We left from Ka'upulehu, and the first stop was Marshall Islands. I was on the first leg, very honored by that. And on my crew watch, we were broken up to two crew watches. In my crew watch, I was the only wahine. And we had the 12 to 6 shift, meaning 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Perfect, because we get the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets. About 14 days out, we encountered this really, really heavy storm, huge storm. I was on the steering sweep. That was my favorite position. And the swells were about 8 to 12 feet, but I felt like it was like 25 feet. And the rain was so thick, I remember it, that there was a full moon out. And we navigate by, not only by stars, but other elements as well, including the moon at night. The rain was so thick in this particular squall, we couldn't even see the silhouette of the moon, the full moon. And the seas became rough and confused. And despite that heavy weather, I didn't want to give up the sweep. The guys were kind of throwing up on the side, and they didn't want to take it on, so I was proud to take it on. And I looked at my navigator, and I asked him, like, do you want me to get off? Because I couldn't see. I didn't know where the course was. And I was looking. I asked him, can you help me find the way? Can you give me my heading? He told me, you got it, trust. So for the next 30 minutes, I did that. I conjured up my kupuna, my ancestors, and I dug deep into the teachings and all that training. And finally, the skies opened up. And we were dead on course, west-southwest, sailing to Majuro. Have you ever surrendered yourself to your highest purpose? In that moment, all was at peace. And I knew my role and my purpose in life. See, the point is, in these 3 moments of observing my teachers reclaim an entire people's heritage, pride, and role on this earth. Is that Giselle Garduki, my mother, Randy Fong, Les Sabalos, Holua Stender, my teachers at Kamehameha schools, Shorty and Clay Bertelman, teachers of art and wayfinding. You see, the common thread of these 3 moments is that these heroes are everyday people who heroically believed in the potential of a child. So for me, learning has been the most potent tool for the transformation of self and community. And there are 187,000 school-aged children in Hawaii. And we have some of the best teachers, administrators, curriculum coordinators from the best charter schools, Hawaiian language immersion schools, DOE public schools, and independent schools. And we do this through experiential learning, through Aina-based learning, through project and place-based learning. Imagine if we each of us, invested our aloha, our time and expertise in just one keiki. Could we turn the tide of statistics that plague us? Homelessness, cost of living. Could we be a kinder society? Could we be a more connected community? Perhaps could we be a healthier island home? Why do I teach? To transform. What is your call to action? Yava anui, Yava akialoa, Yava apeleleu, alele mamala, amanu. iwi polena. A kau ka